Peter adjusted his tie and glanced at his wristwatch. It was lunchtime, and like every other day, he made his way to the small restaurant in front of the post office where he worked. The place wasn't fancy, but the food was good, and it had become his favourite spot. As he pushed open the wooden door, the familiar aroma of fried plantain and stew filled his nostrils. He scanned the room, his eyes stopping at the woman behind the counter. Clara. She moved swiftly, attending to customers with a gentle smile despite the obvious exhaustion on her face. Peter had been watching her for months now. She was not just beautiful. Her dark skin glowed even under the dim restaurant lights, and her soft-spoken nature made her stand out. But what made Peter notice her the most was the way the madam of the restaurant treated her. He had seen Clara get scolded, sometimes even humiliated in front of customers. There were days he watched as the woman hurled insults at her, blaming her for things she had no control over. Peter often clenched his fists in anger, but he knew it wasn't his place to interfere. Still, each time he saw her eyes filled with silent pain, he wished he could do something. He took his usual seat at the corner and waited as Clara approached with a notepad. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly. "What will you have today?" "The usual," Peter replied with a small smile. She nodded and scribbled down his order. As she turned to leave, he hesitated before calling her back. "Clara." She looked at him, a bit surprised. "Yeah? You're always so busy. Do you ever get time to rest?" Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but she only let out a small sigh. Peter watched as she walked away, his heart aching for her. He wanted to know more about her, to understand the sadness in her eyes. Over the next few weeks, he made a habit of chatting with her whenever she had a free moment. At first, she was reserved, answering only in short sentences, but gradually she warmed up to him. He learned that she had lost her parents when she was young and had been working since she was a teenager. The restaurant owner had taken her in, but instead of treating her well, she used her as cheap labour. Peter's admiration for her grew. She wasn't just beautiful, she was strong. One evening, as the restaurant was closing, Peter stood outside, waiting. Clara stepped out, wiping her hands on her apron. She was about to walk past him when he called her name. "Clara, can I talk to you for a minute?" She hesitated but nodded. They moved to a quiet corner away from the busy street. Peter could feel his heart pounding, but he knew he had to say what was on his mind. "I've been coming here for a long time, and I see how hard you work. I see the way you're treated, and I can't pretend it doesn't bother me." He paused, searching her eyes. "Clara, I like you, I really do." She looked away, her hands gripping the edge of her apron. "Peter, I don't... Please, just hear me out," he interrupted gently. "I'm not asking for an answer right now. I just want you to know how I feel. I respect you, and I want to be there for you." She sighed. "I appreciate your kindness, but my life is complicated. I don't want to be a burden to anyone." "You're not a burden," Peter said firmly. "You deserve happiness too." Clara looked at him, her eyes filled with uncertainty. She had spent so much of her life feeling unwanted, and now here was this man, kind, patient, and willing to care for her. "I don't know, Peter," she whispered. "Take your time," he said. "I'll wait." And wait he did. Every day he continued to show her kindness. He didn't pressure her, didn't demand anything. He was just there. Little by little, Clara began to see that his words were not just empty promises. And for the first time in a long time, she considered the possibility of love. The days passed, and Peter continued to show Clara kindness and patience. He didn't rush her or pressure her for an answer, and that was what made her begin to see him differently. Unlike the men from her past, who had been drawn to her for her wealth and status, Peter was sincere. He liked her for who she was, not what she had. And to Peter, Clara was not just an ordinary restaurant worker. She was the daughter of a billionaire, one of the wealthiest men in the country. She had grown up in luxury, having everything she could ever want at her fingertips. But with wealth came deception. and Clara had suffered countless heartbreaks. Every man who had professed love to her in the past had only done so because of her money, her father's influence, and the power that came with her name. She had grown tired of it all. One day, she made a drastic decision: to leave everything behind and live like an ordinary person. She cut her hair, changed her appearance, and moved far away from home. She found work at the small restaurant, choosing to experience life without the privileges she had always known. She wanted to see if someone could truly love her for who she was, without wealth clouding their intentions. And then she met Peter. At first she had been skeptical, convinced that he would be like all the others, but Peter was different. He had no idea who she was, no clue about the millions she had left behind. He saw her as just Clara, a hard-working woman struggling to make ends meet. And the way he looked at her, the way he genuinely cared about her, made her heart soften, in a way she never thought possible. One evening, as they stood outside the restaurant again, Peter held her hand and looked into her eyes. "Clara, I know you've been hesitant, but I mean everything I've said. I love you. I don't care about your past or where you've come from. I just want to be with you," he said sincerely. Clara stared at him, searching for any sign of deceit, but there was none. He meant every word. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in love again. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll give us a chance." Peter's face broke into a wide smile. He had been waiting for this moment for so long, and now it was finally happening. From that day on, their relationship flourished. Peter treated Clara like a queen, even with the little he had. He took her on simple dates, walked with her in the evenings, and listened to her dreams and fears. He never once made her feel less than she was, and that made Clara love him even more. A year later, Peter proposed. It wasn't a grand proposal, just a simple moment between the two of them. They had gone for a walk by the riverbank, talking about life, when Peter suddenly stopped and got down on one knee. "Clara, I don't have much, but what I do have, I want to share with you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. He didn't know that she could buy 100 rings more expensive than the one he held, but that didn't matter. His love was real, and that was all she had ever wanted. "Yes, Peter," she said, her voice shaking. "I will marry you." They had a small, beautiful wedding with only a few close friends in attendance. Clara's billionaire family had no idea where she was, and she chose not to reach out to them yet. She wanted to experience love without their influence. After the wedding, Clara moved in with Peter, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly at home. Their tiny apartment was nothing compared to the mansion she had grown up in, but it was filled with warmth and love. Peter insisted that Clara should quit her job at the restaurant. "I will provide for us," he told her one evening as they lay in bed. "I may not be rich, but I will work hard to make sure you never lack anything. You don't have to stress yourself anymore." Clara smiled, touched by his words. He had no idea that if she wanted, she could buy the entire post office where he worked. But she remained quiet, choosing instead to let him take care of her in his own way. She quit her job, and Peter worked even harder to ensure that their home was comfortable. Clara took care of their little apartment, cooking, cleaning, and making their house feel like a home. Their love grew deeper with each passing day. Clara sometimes wondered how Peter would react if he ever found out the truth about her. Would he be angry that she had kept such a huge secret? Would he feel betrayed? But she wasn't ready to tell him yet. For now, she was just Clara, Peter's wife, and she wanted to enjoy this simple, beautiful life for as long as she could. Clara and Peter had been married for 6 months when she discovered she was pregnant. It was a joyous moment for both of them. Peter was over the moon, kissing her forehead and holding her close as he promised to always be there for her and their child. "You've made me the happiest man, Clara," he said, his eyes filled with love. As the months passed, Peter proved to be a devoted husband and a present father-to-be. He attended every doctor's appointment, made sure Clara ate well, and even massaged her feet after long days. Their home was filled with laughter and love, and Clara felt truly blessed. But one evening, as she sat alone in their bedroom, a thought crossed her mind. Peter had been nothing but kind and loving, but she had been deceived before. She had thought she had found love in the past, only to realize the men were only interested in her wealth. Now that she was married, she wanted to be sure Peter's love was genuine before revealing the truth about who she really was. That night, she made a secret decision: to test him. Using her connections, she arranged for a job opening at one of her companies. It was a position for a general manager, offering a high salary, a luxurious car, and a better house in an upscale neighborhood. She casually showed Peter the job advertisement, pretending she had found it online. "Peter, look at this job opening, you should apply," she said, handing him her phone. Peter glanced at it and laughed. "Clara, this is way out of my league. A general manager? I don't think I stand a chance." "You'll never know if you don't try," she encouraged him. After much persuasion, Peter sent in his CV, not expecting much. But a week later, he received a shocking call. He had been offered the job. Peter was dumbfounded. "I can't believe this, Clara. I didn't even think I was qualified." Clara smiled, hiding the fact that she had orchestrated it all. With the job came wealth. His salary was 10 times what he used to earn, and he was given a brand new car along with a company house in a high-end neighborhood. Peter was overjoyed. Clara watched him closely, waiting to see how success would change him. At first, the change in their lifestyle was exciting. Peter was overwhelmed with joy at his new position, and Clara, despite knowing the truth behind his sudden success, was happy for him. She watched him settle into his role, seeing how he adjusted to his new salary, luxurious car, and their new home in an upscale neighborhood. She wanted to believe that nothing would change between them, but deep down, she was afraid. Her fears soon became reality. With his new status came a storm. Peter started keeping late nights, often coming home long after Clara had gone to bed. Whenever she asked, he would sigh and rub his forehead. "It's work, Clara. I have a lot of responsibilities now. You wouldn't understand," he would say dismissively. But Clara did understand. Unknown to Peter, she had people watching him, and she knew the truth. The late nights weren't because of work. Peter had started going out with different women, enjoying the attention that came with his wealth. At first, Clara tried to ignore it, hoping it was just a phase. But soon, Peter's behavior towards her began to change. He started acting distant. He no longer showed the same excitement about her pregnancy. He changed the password on his phone and guarded it like his life depended on it. And worst of all, he began keeping secrets about his finances. Whenever Clara asked about money, Peter would snap at her. "Why are you asking? Do I ask you how you spend your time at home?" Clara was heartbroken. This was the same Peter who once swore to take care of her and their baby. The same Peter who once massaged her feet after long days. Where had her loving husband gone? She tried to talk to him, tried to bring him back to his senses, but Peter had become arrogant. He acted as though she were beneath him, as though she should be grateful to be with a man of his status. One evening, after another late night out, Peter stumbled into the house smelling of alcohol and expensive perfume. Clara, who had been waiting for him in the living room, stood up immediately. "Where are you coming from at this hour, Peter?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Peter scoffed. "Clara, I'm not in the mood for this." "You're never in the mood. You come home late, you lie to me, you hide your phone, and you expect me not to say anything?" Peter turned to walk past her, but Clara stepped in front of him. "I am your wife, Peter. I deserve some respect. Tell me the truth. Are you seeing someone else?" Peter's face darkened, and before Clara could react, his hand swung across her face. A hot, stinging pain shot through her cheek as she stumbled back, holding her face in shock. Peter had slapped her. There was a heavy silence between them, broken only by Clara's sharp intake of breath. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Peter's face showed no remorse. Instead, he muttered, "You don't talk to me like that, Clara." Clara's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The man she had trusted, the man she had loved so deeply, had just raised his hand against her. She took a shaky step back, her hand still on her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Something inside her shifted that night. She had done this test to see Peter's true character. Now, she had her answer. Clara spent the entire night thinking about the best way to handle the situation. She had loved Peter sincerely and had hoped that their love would survive anything. But now, the truth was staring her in the face. Peter was never the man she thought he was. Wealth had revealed his true colours, and she could no longer ignore it. The next evening, as Peter sat on the couch scrolling through his phone, Clara approached him calmly. "Peter, we need to talk," she said. He barely looked up. "What is it?" Clara took a deep breath. "I don't like what our marriage has become. Ever since you got this new job, you've changed. You keep late nights, you hide things from me, and worst of all, you raised your hand against me. Peter, I have prayed for things to get better for us, and now that they have, why am I the one suffering?" Peter flared up immediately, dropping his phone. "Oh, so now you want to take credit for my success. Let me tell you something, Clara. This is my hard work paying off, not your prayers. I put in the effort, I earned this, and you have no right to try and tame me." Clara's heart sank, but at that moment she knew what she had to do. She forced a smile and nodded. "You're right, Peter. Maybe I overreacted." Peter scoffed. "Good, at least you know your place." Clara said nothing more. Instead, she went into the kitchen and prepared dinner, while Peter got dressed and left for another so-called work meeting. The next morning, Peter dressed up in his finest suit, grabbed his car keys and kissed Clara on the cheek as if nothing had happened. "I'll be home late," he said before walking out. Clara watched him leave with an unreadable expression. As soon as he was gone, she picked up her phone and made a call. "It's time," she said simply. Minutes later, a sleek black limousine pulled up in front of their house. Clara stepped inside, dressed in an elegant gown, her hair perfectly styled, her confidence radiating like the billionaire she truly was. She was done hiding. The limousine drove her straight to the office where Peter worked. As soon as she stepped out, heads turned. The employees who had always seen her as a simple housewife were stunned. Whispers filled the air as she made her way to the executive director's office. The moment she entered, the director, a middle-aged man who had always respected her, stood up immediately. "Madam Clara, what an honour! To what do we owe this visit?" Clara sat down gracefully. "I'm here to correct a mistake. I want you to fire your general manager, Peter." The director's eyes widened. "Peter? But why, madam?" Clara leaned forward. "Because Peter is my husband. He doesn't know who I truly am. I wanted to test his character, so I arranged for him to get this job. I gave him everything, wealth, power, and status, to see if he would remain humble. But he failed. He became arrogant, unfaithful, and even violent." The director gasped. "I had no idea." "Now you do," Clara said. "Issue his sack letter immediately." The director nodded and called his secretary. Within minutes, the letter was prepared. Clara took the letter and, with the director by her side, walked straight into Peter's office. Peter was laughing on the phone when she entered, but the moment he saw her, his face dropped. "Clara, what are you doing here?" Clara handed him the sack letter. "Read it." Peter's hands trembled as he opened the letter. "Termination of employment?" His voice shook. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" The executive director cleared his throat. "It's no joke, Peter. Clara is the owner of this company. She's your boss, and she has decided to terminate your employment." Peter's world spun. "Wait, what? Clara, what are you talking about?" Clara folded her arms. "I am not just Clara, your simple housewife. I am Clara Williams, the billionaire businesswoman, the same woman you took for granted." Peter fell to his knees. "Clara, please. I didn't know. I was foolish. I made mistakes. Please forgive me." Clara took a deep breath and pulled out another document. "Here's something else for you." Peter took it with shaky hands. His eyes widened in horror as he read the words, "Divorce petition." "No, Clara, please, don't do this," he begged, tears streaming down his face. "I love you. I was just caught up in the moment. I can change." Clara shook her head. "If this was truly about love, you wouldn't have treated me the way you did. You failed the test, Peter, and now I am done with you." With that, she turned and walked out, leaving Peter broken and humiliated. Clara returned to her real life, surrounded by genuine people who loved and respected her. She realized she didn't need to test anyone to find true love. Real love would never require proof. Moral of the story: a person's true character is revealed when they gain power and wealth. Love should be built on trust, respect, and sincerity, not material possessions. Be careful how you treat people when you think you no longer need them. You may regret it. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.